Hey everybody, and welcome back to Outrage Science Bites, the companion podcast to the Outrage Overload podcast. I'm David Beckmeyer, your host and Outrage Overlord. This is day 22 of the NaPodPoMo challenge. That's a National Podcast Post Month, 30-day challenge for November, posting one episode a day or publishing one episode a day. And consistent with the theme of moving from the theoretical to the practical, today we're going to talk about a couple of ways that a lot of the science phenomena we've talked about so far in these episodes shows up in real life. The power of the media, both traditional and social, is undeniable. The media has the ability to inform, educate, and entertain, but it also has the potential to be used for malicious purposes to spread misinformation and fuel outrage. Today, we're going to talk about a couple of recent examples. Chapter 1, the Jesse Smollett hoax. Jesse Smollett was born on June 21, 1982 in Santa Rosa, California. He is the youngest of 6 siblings, all of whom are actors. Smollett began his career as a child model in New York City. He later appeared in several films and television shows, including The Mighty Ducks, North, and On Our Own. Smollett's breakthrough role came in 2015 when he was cast as Jamal Lyon in the Fox drama series Empire. The show was a critical and commercial success, and Smollett quickly became a household name. He was praised for his portrayal of Jamal, a gay hip-hop artist who was struggling to come to terms with his sexuality. Smollett himself had a difficult childhood. His father was absent from his life for a significant portion of his childhood. Smollett has spoken openly about his struggles with his sexuality. He came out to his parents when he was 19. He also has been open about his experiences with racism and homophobia. Smollett has identified himself as a black, gay, and Jewish man. He has been a vocal advocate for social justice and equality. He has also spoken out against racism, homophobia, and anti-Semitism. In 2019, Jesse Smollett claimed to have been the victim of a hate crime in Chicago. He alleged that 2 men had attacked him, beaten him, and tied a noose around his neck. Smollett's story quickly went viral, sparking outrage and condemnation across the country. However, Smollett's story turned out to be a hoax. He had staged the attack himself, hoping to gain sympathy and attention. The hoax was a clear example of the dangers of fabricating hate crimes. It also highlighted the power of the media to spread misinformation and fuel outrage. Several psychological phenomena and cognitive biases contributed to the spread of the Jesse Smollett hoax. One of the most important was confirmation bias. Confirmation bias, you'll remember, is the tendency to seek out and favor information that confirms our existing beliefs, while discounting information that contradicts them. In the case of the Jesse Smollett hoax, many people were quick to believe Smollett's story because it fit with their existing beliefs about racism and homophobia. Another cognitive bias that played a role in the spread of the hoax was availability heuristic. The availability heuristic is the tendency to judge the likelihood of something based on how easily we can remember examples of it. In the case of the Jesse Smollett hoax, many people were familiar with other high-profile cases of hate crimes, so they were more likely to believe that Smollett's story was true. Chapter 2, the Pizzagate Conspiracy Theory. Edgar Madison Welsh, also known by his middle name Madison, was born in Salisbury, North Carolina on October 28, 1988. He grew up in a middle-class family and attended local public schools. According to his acquaintances, Welch was a quiet and reserved individual who spent much of his time playing video games and reading online news. After graduating high school, Welch worked in various odd jobs, including as a delivery man and a construction worker. However, he struggled to maintain steady employment and often faced financial difficulties. Welch had a history of consuming online conspiracy theories, particularly those related to government cover-ups and hidden agendas. He was reportedly an avid user of Reddit and other social media platforms where conspiracy theories were widely discussed. In December 2016, Welsh became increasingly engrossed in the Pizzagate conspiracy theory, which falsely alleged that Hillary Clinton and her associates were running a child sex trafficking ring out of a pizzeria in Washington, D.C. The theory had gained traction on social media and online forums, and Welsh became convinced of its veracity. On December 4, 2016, Welsh drove from his home in Salisbury to the Comet Ping Pong Pizzeria restaurant in Washington, D.C., armed with an AR-15 assault rifle and a shotgun. He entered the restaurant and fired several shots, causing panic among the patrons and employees. Welsh was eventually apprehended by police without any injuries. Welsh later claimed that he had traveled to the pizzeria to quote-unquote self-investigate the Pizzagate conspiracy and liberate the alleged child victims. He pled guilty to federal charges of assault with a dangerous weapon and transporting a firearm over state lines and was sentenced to 4 years in prison. The Pizzagate conspiracy was a clear example of how false information can spread quickly online and lead to real-world violence. It also highlighted the dangers of confirmation bias and motivated reasoning. Motivated reasoning is the tendency to interpret information in a way that confirms our existing desires or beliefs. In the case of the Pizzagate conspiracy theory, many people were eager to believe that Clinton was involved in a child sex trafficking ring, so they were more likely to accept the false information that was being circulated. Several psychological phenomena and cognitive biases contributed to the spread of the Pizzagate conspiracy theory. In addition to confirmation bias and motivated reasoning, the theory also relied on a number of other cognitive biases, such as the illusory pattern perception fallacy and the clustering illusion. The illusory pattern perception fallacy is the tendency to see patterns in random data. The clustering illusion is a tendency to believe that events are more likely to occur in clusters than they actually are. The Jesse Smollett hoax and the Pizzagate conspiracy theory are just two examples of how outrage media can be used to spread misinformation and fuel outrage. These cases highlight the importance of being critical of the information we consume and the need to be aware of the psychological phenomena and cognitive biases that can lead us to believe false information. If you're enjoying these Outrage Science Bites episodes, you might enjoy the long-form Outrage Overload podcast. You can find that at outrageoverload.net. You can also find past episodes of this Outrage Science Bites podcast by scrolling down and finding a link at the bottom of that same website, outrageoverload.net. There's also a place at the bottom of that page or near the bottom of that page to send a voice message. You can just click and send a message right from your browser. I listen to every single message, and I will listen to yours. So thanks for listening, and watch for a new episode tomorrow.